Hi, welcome to Table Talk and thank you for joining us. Today's guest is Debbie Helton with the new CASA program. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you.
I know you from way back. We go back quite a ways, and I was really happy to see that you were helping Judge Moore, I guess, get this kicked off in Warren County. So this was kind of one of the first things that Judge Ryan Moore brought to Warren County when he took office. Tell us what CASA is and the need for bringing it here.
So CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. So volunteers are appointed by the juvenile court to advocate for children who have been deemed by the court to be abused or neglected. And the need was that Warren County has not had a CASA program. Other surrounding counties do, and we really needed somebody to advocate for the kids. They sometimes call CASA the eyes and ears for the court. So they help the judge make good decisions for the kids, and that was really missing here.
So I guess tell us what your role is with CASA.
I am the volunteer coordinator for Warren County, so I recruit volunteers, train them. Our volunteers have lots of training because it's a big job, and I also supervise them as they work their cases. When they start out, I go on visits with them. I'm always in court in the event that they can't be there, and in the event we get a new case. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and we really need volunteers. So
I bet, because when I was on the state's website, it gave quite a few numbers of kids in need versus number of CASA volunteers that there are out there. So, and I guess as a volunteer, and I may be jumping ahead, but you can take assignments that you feel like you can, like you're not going to be given 10 assignments, are you?
Absolutely not.
You can,
and especially
say,
when we have a new volunteer, we're going to start out with one, and that's really the magic of being a CASA volunteer. It kind of what differentiates them from some of the other people in the kid's life is that we just have one case. So you can really invest yourself in the child and spend a lot of time finding out everything that's going on in the child's life and get to know that child.
Right. So I guess what is the role of the volunteer versus the case manager with DCS?
So a DCS case manager is managing the entire family.
Okay.
And a CASA volunteer is just advocating for that child, or it can be a family group, so a group of children. But they are, and the fact that they may just have one or two cases, they can spend a lot of time and really get to know the child, be that person in the child's life, develop a relationship. And a lot of times, attorneys in a case may change, case managers may move on or change, but the goal is for that CASA worker to be a constant in that child's life. They always are with the child through whatever changes may happen, and they always kind of know the story of the case, what's going on in that child's life.
So if a child is going, they're in foster care and they may go from home, maybe they're moved several times, the CASA worker is a constant in the child's life.
Absolutely, and that's no matter where the child is placed, because the child may be placed in a foster home in Warren County, but it might be moved somewhere in another county. So the CASA worker needs to, our goal is for them to visit with the child at least once a month, wherever that child is. So if it's in another county or in a facility in another county, absolutely, the CASA worker visits.
Does the CASA worker sometimes have to, participate in other counties' court systems and things like that if you're having to go to court with the
maybe
child?
Maybe not the other counties' court systems, But you may, if a child is placed in like a juvenile facility, then the CASA worker can certainly visit there. And the CASA worker does appear in court in Warren County, where the case is.
Okay. So, I guess what would the daily doings or, of a volunteer assigned to a child, how long does this assignment last?
Okay.
And how are children assigned to a CASA?
So a case can last anywhere from 3 months up to 5 years. Really want the volunteer to stay on for the whole case. And when in court, when the judge, so in Warren County that's Judge Moore, needs extra eyes and ears on a case, he can assign CASA to that case. And then I, as the volunteer coordinator, would assign that to one of my volunteers. And they actually get a document, a legal document, an appointment order that lets them be involved in any part of that case. So a CASA volunteer can talk to the parents, the foster parents, doctors, therapists. They can go to the school. They can talk to anybody in the child's life, just so they know what's going on and really get a good picture of what's going on with that child.
Right. I would think it would be difficult because in some instances you have the child telling you things, you have the adults telling you things, but with that access to everyone, you can get opinions and, everything, the full story, I guess, from teachers and everyone.
Absolutely. Yep. And that is the goal, to gather information about what's going on with the child, and eventually the volunteer will present that to the judge so that he can make a good decision about what needs to happen in the case.
Yes. I get that. It seems like so much needed. So this is a statewide program. How many children do you anticipate that CASA is going to be able to serve in Warren County?
It's hard to say how many. It kind of hinges on how many volunteers we have. But it's also hard to know how many children are going to be deemed to be abused and neglected. Right now, I can tell you this. We swore in our first volunteers here in February, and we're currently advocating for 20 children. And I've got 5 volunteers right now. So,
right.
Yeah. So the more volunteers we have, the more children we can advocate for. But it can, it all depends on.
And I guess volunteers, you take on probably as many cases as you can handle personally. We all still have lives, families, things like that we have to, but if you're, in a spot where you've got more free time.
Absolutely. And I kind of let my volunteers let me know if they're ready, if they want another case or if they're ready for another case. But you can certainly be a volunteer and work a full-time job. It's as long as you're available, because you never know when the child might need you. But if you only are comfortable with one case, that's perfectly fine. If you're ready for another case, that's fine too. So it's kind of, yes, at the volunteer's discretion.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing that would almost maybe hinder people from volunteering, is they think my life is too busy for this. And what's your answer to that?
I think that usually what I tell people is your case is the busiest when you're first assigned, as you're getting to know everybody. And then you kind of, get into a rhythm. Yes, into a rhythm. You're visiting your child once a month and just kind of keeping in touch with everybody. So I think it's really easy to do if you have a full-time job. I think that would be a really easy thing to do. You will appear in court when your child's case is on the docket, but if you can't, if you're working and can't leave your job, I'm always in court. So I'm there, and that's why I'm there, to speak for the volunteer when they can't be.
Right.
So, I think it's easily something that you could do and still manage with the rest of your life.
So what is the documenting process that the worker has to do, or the volunteer has to do? I would think you would, need to be keeping records, I guess,
Absolutely.
of what you hear and see.
Absolutely. Take lots. take lots of notes of all your visits and just keep up with all your visits, all that information. You're really not, as a volunteer, we're really not investigating the case.
Right.
We're really just getting to know the child and what's going on with the child. So, and when eventually we do write a report for the court, and that intimidates some people, but they shouldn't. I always help with the reports, but you're just telling the judge what you've observed. That's really all you're doing. You're not making any conclusions. You're just saying, this is what I've seen. There's a place on the report for what the child says, because a lot of times what the child wants gets missed in all this. So, and sometimes the child might say, I want to be back, I want to live with my mommy and daddy. And we always say, what would you like to tell the judge? If that's what they want the judge to know, then we make sure that's on the report.
Yeah, because you do have to take that into consideration.
Right.
Even in many circumstances, the child does still feel like they belong at home. That's their, that's their place. I
absolutely.
won't necessarily say safe place, but that's what they know.
Right.
Yeah. So what are some of the requirements for volunteers?
Volunteers need to be 21 years old. Like I said before, you can work a full-time job. We do extensive background checks, which is obviously important since we're working with kids. And we do a lot of training. We do 35 hours of training, which includes, we talk about trauma and drug abuse. We learn a lot about families and kind of the way you look at families, because we all have our preconceived notions of what a good family is. And that may look different for a child. We have different people from the community come in and talk about resources in the community. And we really get to know each other and develop relationships with with each other as the volunteers. So that's really it. I think the most important thing that a volunteer needs to have is a desire or a passion to make an impact on a child's life. I think that would be the most important thing. And if you've got that, then the rest just kind of falls in place.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I know there's many people out there maybe that are getting to their retirement years in life, and their schedule isn't as busy, or if in whatever case may be, we can always make time for others, and especially the children of our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of need for that. So I guess tell our audience how to learn more about CASA. I know you all have lots of, like you said, training and things like that, but they're just wanting to, I guess, look and learn a little bit more about that.
If you're interested in being a volunteer, and like I said, we are hoping to start a new training class really soon. You can call our office, and the number is 931-455-7426. We also have a website, which is www.casaworks.org. And you can, if you're interested in being a volunteer, you can notify us there also, or just learn a little bit more about the program.
Yeah. I know, like I said, I would think there would be a lot of people out there that would be interested in doing it. Maybe they don't want to jump in yet, but learn more, I guess, about the program and how it works.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're always happy to answer questions. Our volunteers that we have are always happy to answer questions. So just reach
Okay.
out to any of us, and
I'm
let
sure
us know.
your volunteers lean on each other too for
They-
guidance, and they have you as well.
They do, and I think that's really important. You can bounce cases off each other, and really support each other. So we try to be a family.
And I would say too, probably, that everything you learn about this child and their circumstances is all confidential.
Absolutely.
You can talk to other CASA workers, but you're not out sharing
No.
information about children.
No, that's part of the training is signing confidentiality agreements. That is not something that we're out doing. That is
Yeah.
important for the child also too.
Right.
Because it's a scary time for a kid. They want to be able to know they can trust the volunteer.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Debbie. Lots of great information. We hope everybody will consider at least learning more about CASA, promoting it, and pointing people in that direction if they're looking for volunteer work. And I'd like to thank our audience for joining us today. We hope you found today's show interesting and informative. Have a safe, healthy, and happy week, and join us again for more Table Talk.